I came home one night, just decided to start training for a half marathon, and went out for a run. When I got back, I was having a pretty major headache and a stomach ache, lying on the floor in my living room. Luckily, my roommate was home, and at some point there, he heard me from the other room actually having a grand mal seizure, like a big seizure, a lot of shaking and everything. So he called 911. They came and took me to a hospital just a couple miles down the road. And after a CAT scan, they saw that my brain had actually been shifted a little bit off center. There was so much pressure on the right side of my brain because of a brain bleed, actually. It's a subdural hematoma. And so they had to perform emergency surgery. They took out about a third of my skull right there to let the blood drain. They didn't know what was going to happen, when I was going to wake up, if I was going to wake up. For a long time, I was pretty incoherent, couldn't remember any information. They had to tell me where I was and why I was there. They didn't know why the brain bleed had happened. By the time they actually took off my skull and got in there, there was no evidence of a bleed. There was no broken vessels, nothing like that. It's a kind of injury that doesn't happen to healthy 25-year-olds. It just never happens. The rate of occurrence is super low. After a few weeks in the hospital, I got to go home, stayed with my parents for about 4 months. 3 of those months was spent without that piece of my skull. The bleed happened in January and March. I got the skull piece back in, so slowly I was regaining my memory, attention, just critical thinking, all that stuff slowly came back. And I mean, eventually it got to the point that even people that knew me before could hardly notice a difference. People that had never met me before the brain bleed would never know that anything had happened except for, the scar. I'm a whole person, today. And I've been able to go above and beyond in so many ways. Since that time, I started a company, a publishing company. I've published 2 books. Clearly, my prior ability, the intellect that I had, has come back, and I've been blessed so much in the ways that I've been able to pursue those interests and then put them out there in the world as a blessing to others as well. I think the primary thing that my experience showed me about God was that He's there, even when you don't necessarily feel it, even when you're wondering, does He really care about me all the time? Does He care about me right now? He's always there. And that's something that I really began to appreciate in the experience, was His sovereignty. And that because of my faith in Him, I didn't have to worry at all about the particulars of my recovery. I didn't have to worry about the particulars of what my life was going to look like on the other side. All those details, through God's sovereignty, were going to be figured out for me. And so that gave me so much peace and just assurance that I didn't have to worry about what life would look like, as long as I knew that, God had it in control.